Ready to open the hood? UseTool for the tutorials.
And for car parts, the right idea is the Mr. Auto app. Easy, fast, and with better prices than on the website.
You will find the bulk shock absorbers used in the video exclusively on the Mr. Auto website and through the link in the description. Turn your engine off, pull up the handbrake, pull on the bonnet release lever and open the bonnet. In order to change the front shock absorbers on your vehicle, you must lift the front of the car and remove the wheels to have a complete access to the suspension system. Loosen the stud bolts on the front wheels. Raise the front of the vehicle and put it in the 2-axle stands. We strongly suggest watching the tutorial, raising your vehicle safely before carrying out this step. You will then be able to take off the wheels. Don't forget to slide them under the vehicle. During this operation, you will work on the steering system of your vehicle. Checks on tyre alignment, when carried out by a professional, will guarantee that your steering system has been perfectly aligned and is in good working order. You now have to remove the stabilizer link bar. It connects the stabilizer link so that the wheels are always in contact with the ground. The elements to be removed are very often stuck, so don't hesitate to use penetrating oil to facilitate the process. Start by loosening and removing the upper tie rod end on the sway bar link. To do this, take a 17mm spanner and a 5mm Allen key. Spray the ABS sensor hose with penetrating oil to remove them more easily. Do the same with the brake hose. Then spray the supporting screw on the hose frame. Using a socket wrench and a 10mm socket, unscrew the hose frame, then remove it. Using a socket wrench and a 21mm socket, unscrew the 2 screws on the base of the shock absorber. Hold the nut with a 21mm spanner, then remove them. The base of the shock absorber should now be free. Now, to disassemble the front shock absorbers, it is first important to remove the windscreen frame and the windscreen wipers. Before removing the windscreen wipers, place adhesive tape in order to keep a precise indication of their location at the end position. This will make it possible to correctly position them when reassembling. Remove the lock nut covers on the windscreen wipers with a 16mm spanner and unscrew the lock nuts. Remove the windscreen wiper arms by making small movements up and down. If they're not coming out, we recommend taking windscreen wiper remover to facilitate the process. Take out the waterproofing joint on the windscreen bay by pulling it upwards from one end to the other. To remove the windshield frame, lift the plastic rivets that hold the side covers. Then remove them. Now, remove the windshield frame. You now need to remove the lower frame. Then, using a socket wrench, an extender and a 10mm socket, remove the holding screws on the frame. Then the 2 side screws using a Torx T30 socket. Disconnect the electric sheath from the markers to to then separate it from the frame. Now, shift the frame. You can now access the heads of your car's shock absorbers. Using a socket wrench and a 13mm socket, unscrew the 3 holding screws on the shock absorber. Once released, hold the shock absorber with one hand and finish off the unscrewing with the other hand. To separate the base of the shock absorber from the hub carrier, lever it off using a fork. Remove the shock absorber.
Please support us, subscribe and like the video, that will be really cool.
In order to change the shock absorber, you must now separate it from the spring. You can find a description of the tool used in the video, which we think is most adapted to the operation. Careful, pay attention as you compress the spring. This is not without risk and should be undertaken paying very careful attention. Install the shock absorber on the tool, then tighten the mobile flange against the spring, controlling its position carefully. Check that they're properly held by the locking studs, then slowly compress the spring using the socket wrench and an appropriate socket. Once the shock absorber is free in the spring, you can use an 18mm offset wrench and a 6mm Allen key to unscrew the suspension strut support bearing. In the most extreme cases, you have to use an impact wrench. Then, remove the upper spring support and mount. You will find the bulk parts and products used in the video on the Mr. Auto site and in the link in the description. When changing your shock absorbers, you can also change the shock absorber mount as well as the sleeve bordering onto the shock absorber. You can also reuse them if they're not too worn down. You need to pump it several times on the actuator to get the system going. Unscrew the lock nut on the stem. Put in place the sleeve bordered on the shock absorber rod. Position everything in the spring. Pay careful attention to place the bottom of the spring so that it supports the shock absorber flange. Then install all of the upper spring support, the lower mount, and finish by screwing in the lock nut onto the shock absorber stem. Make sure it is well tightened. Unscrew the spring compression tool, paying attention to the position of the spring on the lower shock absorber support. You have now finished preparing the new part. Start by putting your shock absorber in place . Then screw the head of the shock absorber back in, start by hand, then finish off with a socket wrench. The final tightening should be done with a Torx wrench. Using a wire brush, clean the hub carrier to make it easier to insert it into the shock absorber. Then put the screws back in place. Finalize the tightening of the screws with a Torx wrench. Put the stabilizer link bar into its upper housing and screw it in. Finalize the tightening of the screws with a Torx wrench. Screw the hose frame back in and put the hoses back onto it. Put the lower frame back in place. Screw all the screws back in. Then clip the cabling back onto the markers. Put the windscreen frame back in place. Then the side covers. Put the waterproof joint back on, then the windscreen wiper arms without tightening excessively. Put the wheels of your vehicle back on and lower it to the ground. Operation completed.
Hello, if this video helps you, like and subscribe.